Doom, warrior race, failed invader, martial artist, adventurer. The story of Kakarot Kent and the alien species known as the Saiyans within our universe is a complex one. But while their deeds throughout space were heinous, I believe that we can learn from the best of their ilk. From their last son, Kakarot Kent, who died to save everyone. We can redeem their legacy.
Dr. Quintum, I am an engineer. I helped you set up an atmosphere here on the moon to do work, not talk about fallen heroes. What could we possibly learn from a bunch of space Spartans with laser hands?
Well, they're also giant monkey werewolves, and that's why we're here. The energy they use to transform could have massive benefits for the human heart. The sheer volume of energy required to change a humanoid form into a creature of that size, the possibilities are never ending.
Unfortunately, Doctor, your possibilities will be coming to an end quite shortly.
Meanwhile, at LexCorp headquarters, on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C., an alert sounded, and President Lex Luthor summoned his Superboy into the Oval Office. Before that though, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, so you never miss out on an episode of Dragon Ball DC.
Your report on today's patrol will have to wait. There's a situation on the moon. 3 terrorists have taken hostages at Quintum's cute little moon base. Are you fatigued from the patrol? I can replenish your reserves while we wait for the teleporter to come online.
That will be necessary.
Excellent. Then the teleporter will be ready in a matter of minutes.
Sorry, Father. What I mean is, neither will be necessary. I've never had to exert myself in a fight. This will be no different. And I don't need to wait on the teleporter. The distance is like 238,900 miles? I can make that in a jump.
With a burst of inhuman speed, Subject G0-011-522-13477 exited his father's Oval Office, leaped off the Rose Garden lawn, and soared into the upper atmosphere. As he began to leave the stratosphere, he held his nose and closed his mouth, just as a precaution. Leo Quintum had designed and helped grow a family of superpowered beings that acted as scientists, explorers, and philosophers in realms of the superhuman. From exploring the Earth's core to mining the vacuum of space, these beings were our future. However, they were just appetizers to Parasite.
Artificial meat isn't as good, but I'll deal.
I thought he just drained him. This is too much even for me. Are we almost done yet?
Not until the doctor gives us the designs to the teleporter. Unless he wants to watch Parasite devour more of his children.
They were born to explore the depths of creation. Brute force intimidation tactics became obsolete a century ago.
Maybe we'll have better luck with Dr. Iron.
Halt, villains! I am the unmitigated champion of justice, the vanquisher of evil, the Super Saiyan superhero, Superboy!
What are you doing? You're making a fool of yourself. This isn't a joke. Follow protocol.
Yes, sir. Sorry, Father.
This conversation was allowed to happen as the sheer shock of Superboy's entrance and ensuing antics left the villains in complete disbelief. Leo took this chance and made a dash away from the distracted Deathstroke, leading Major Force to snap out of his shock and chase the scientist.
Where do you think you're going? I'm faster than the speed of sound. You can't escape me.
The speed of sound is 767.269 miles per hour. That's nothing.
Superboy's fist emerged out of the back of Major Force's torso, before anyone else in the room even registered what had happened. With an absent look, the young Saiyan tossed the villain to the side, leaving Major Force to focus all of his energy on holding in and healing the gaping wound in his gut.
Okay, now the one in charge. You.
Deathstroke narrowed his gaze, the decades of battle and death pouring over his soul. He had been in hopeless situations before. He had faced Kakarot Kent in battle, and he knew the only response he could give.
Oh God, please, no, not another one, not again, not again!
The assassin dropped his weapons and began to beg on the floor in front of the quite confused Saiyan. Superboy poked the Terminator in the head and knocked him out. This all seemed to have wrapped itself up rather nicely, just like all of Superboy's missions. That is, it would have, if not for the fact that whoever had recruited this team clearly didn't count on Parasite's unquenchable appetite, and Major Force being turned into an overflowing buffet of power.
What are you doing? No! No!
If you didn't want to feed me, you should have kept your suit on.
The atomic power he's consuming is too much. Superboy, you have to prevent him from eating any more. He'll become unstoppable.
He can eat all he wants. It's not gonna help against me.
Meanwhile, at the Daily Planet, Lois Lane was moving the mountains of Pokemon cards collected by Larfleeze off her keyboard. She needed to get her screen up to start writing the evening edition. Her interview with Wonder Woman about the Saiyan Prince Vegeta's burgeoning attempt at reform was sure to grip the nation. Diana had asked Lois to cover the story as an exclusive. She knew Lois Lane was the only reporter she could trust to bring the news to the world. Lois was cynical, but she always told the truth. The public would discover Vegeta's new method of community service through the pen of the best reporter in the world.
So, while I punch this out, how are you holding up?
Marvelously. While the rise in misguided foes has been difficult to cope with, it's not nearly as bad with the rest of the Justice League around again. Handling all of that on my own was challenging, but I've come out the other side stronger than ever.
Well, that's a relief. I'm not sure the world would keep spinning without you to look after things. I know you can handle it, but don't burn yourself out. I can take a couple of your shifts when you need.
I fear you'd be too harsh on the regular threats the Justice League handles.
That's your problem. You're too soft on them. Couple interviews with me and I'd have them begging for the slab.
Hey Lo, you might want to spell check. The I in Saiyan comes before the Y.
Jenny, no one cares how it's spelled.
Well, I think to show respect to a fallen people, it's quite important.
See? Wonder Woman agrees with me.
What tenacious thief is trying to steal the moon from me?
Jenny, it's your turn to watch him.
Nuh-uh, that's why I came over. Your shift started 2 minutes ago.
So you just left him in front of the TV? It'll rot his brain. And he doesn't have much of one to start.
It's informative. I left it on the news.
What channel?
Crocs.
Oh, that isn't news.
I know, but it just gives us so much material for the podcast.
During this exchange, Wonder Woman had walked over to observe what was happening on the television. Apparently, John Henry Irons had sent a distress call that some kind of attack on Quintum's lunar lab was underway. The new hero, Superboy, was evidently on the scene, but she thought she should go check it out, just in case. Diana walked over to say goodbye to Lois and Jenny.
War's never over, huh?
The god of war always said that there must be another, but that is the poison of war, the thought that there has to be one.
With a gracious smile, the Amazon flew out of an open window in Perry White's office, making her way to the Hall of Justice in order to access a teleporter to the moon.
She is so cool.
I thought I was so cool.
I demand to be cool too!
Hey geeks, I hope you're enjoying the video, but if you really want to help support the channel, head on over to our Patreon and our Discord. Through Patreon, you can help support us directly and make sure that all the amazing artists and voice actors on the Geeks for Fun team are being supported as best as we can. But through Discord, you can get in contact with the rest of the community and even submit some of your own fan art. We love to see anything you guys bring to the table and bring our stories to life. With all of that said though, let's get back to the video. Superboy's fist rocketed into what could be called Parasite's jaw, smacking his gigantic mass through the base wall and out onto the surface of the moon. The young Saiyan then unleashed a flurry of ki blasts, each aimed at a different part of the monstrous blob. With his foe on the back foot, Superboy increased the ferocity of attacks. Hundreds of blows turned to thousands as he laid into the purple leech.
Had enough?
Parasite's body was mush. No remnants of a human form remained. Only a purple blob of writhing flesh and teeth. The mass was pulsing, and the confident Superboy charged forward, ready to end this battle with a dive kick. But to his horror, he was engulfed by the wave of meat. The creature's malleable body absorbing all of the attacks Superboy had been so confident in, and reforming toward more humanoid features, but in titanic proportions.
This is... Man, I've never had stuff this good. Keep it going, boy. Don't get scared on me yet.
Superboy struggled to free himself from Parasite's grasp, the purple flash forming over his small body. All of his attempts to escape with ki blasts only increasing the being's strength. He had miscalculated, assuming that Parasite would only be able to absorb so much before being unable to retain his senses. But Parasite didn't need his senses. He didn't need to think. He just felt the hunger. And that was enough to keep his monstrous power active.
Sir, I need assistance. I don't know how to handle the situation. Please!
Disappointing. You should be able to locate the central point of his energy. That's where his body is weakest. By firing a blast at that exact location, you can overwhelm his system temporarily and escape.
Superboy closed his eyes. His vision was almost entirely covered by now. He tried to sense Parasite's energy, to hone in on the weakest point. But he couldn't. He was overwhelmed.
I can't! There's just too much! So many different energies, all screaming out! All that power! I can't do it!
Then you're no son of mine.
Tears fell down the boy's cheek, as Lex had given up on him. Because he wasn't good enough. Lex was right. He had messed up. And now he was going to die, drained to a husk in the belly of this disgusting creature.
My calculations led me to think you'd be better than this. Stop wasting my time. Either fight it, or die.
Parasite felt the last of the Super Saiyan's energy feed into him. It was a pure source of power, the likes he had never tasted before, and he was satisfied for the first time in years.
Never gonna eat that well again.
Suddenly, beams of golden light emerged from the creature's stomach as Superboy blew apart the purple monster in a gigantic wave of energy.
See, my math is never wrong.
The young Saiyan collapsed to his knees after his dramatic surge of power, now completely spent. His Super Saiyan form meant his stamina was always a concern, but he had never felt as drained as he did right now. That surge of anger brought out a reserve he didn't know he had, but it vanished as quickly as it came, and Parasite was reforming, now dwarfing the moon base itself, eclipsing the Earth.
I thought you were all tapped out, but you still got more in the tank, boy. Give it to me. Feed me.
The lavender Leviathan slithered his way toward the Saiyan. The boy, who was now so much less than super, tried to move away, to stand, to run. But he lacked the strength to even crawl. All his power that he'd been so confident in had been sacrificed to this monster, making its way to finish him off. In that moment, the boy did the only thing he could think of. He begged for help.
Please, Father, help me!
As Parasite's humongous hand charged towards the helpless boy, it was suddenly chopped to pieces by the rotation of a staff, sending the attack flying harmlessly away. Superboy looked up to see a man dressed in an orange gi, standing between him and certain doom.
Yo, I'm Kakarot Kent. I saw you on TV. Nice to meet ya.
You're him. You're alive?
You're alive?
Yup. I only got back a while ago, and then I sensed an awesome power coming from the moon. That must have been you, huh? I never thought I'd meet another Super Saiyan. I don't want to be rude, but you look pretty tuckered out. Mind if I take over from here?
Okay.
Yeah, right. After everything this kid just gave me, I'm stronger than I've ever been. You're just dessert.
You can't just take other people's power and expect to be good with it. As you are right now, you're stronger than me, but you're not a match for me.
Parasite charged forward, the massive flailing of flesh crashing against Kakarot's staff, which responded by changing its width, expanding into a massive pillar.
Your staff is dispersing the force of his blow across the surface of the moon.
Thanks! Some doctor gave it to me when I was your age. Don't get to use it much anymore, but it does a good job keeping guys like this away.
Parasite's mass, however, began to seep over the Ryujingu Bank, gifted to Kakarot by Dr. Fate. The martial artist simply smirked as he planted his feet firmly and gripped the base of his staff, which shrank on one end to fit snugly in his hands, while keeping the other end extended. Kakarot then lifted the staff far above his head, the moon's lower gravity helping to transfer the momentum to Parasite, launching the monster airborne. The martial artist then began to run with the staff, dragging Parasite along like a kite.
Try and use your own power next time, okay? Then we can fight for real. See ya!
After reaching a good distance from the moon base, Kakarot stopped suddenly, before planting the staff in the lunar surface as he began to spin it round and round, before Parasite finally came flying off and went hurtling into orbit around the moon.
That was incredible! You made that look so easy, without any unneeded power.
He just didn't know how to use his own strength. Otherwise, I'd have been in big trouble.
A horrifying ape-like roar echoed across the area, making Superboy think Parasite might have returned, only for Kakarot to realise it was his stomach grumbling.
Sorry, he just mentioned dessert and I realized I'm really hungry.
Well, come on in, Kakarot. I'll have the kitchen get something ready while I work up what to do about Parasite. Though, it looks like you put him into a pretty decent orbit, so I'll have plenty of time.
Be right there. Hey, you look pretty drained. Here, take some of my ki. Food will help too. Food always helps.
Kakarot put a hand on Superboy's shoulder and funneled something back into the boy. Superboy wasn't sure how to describe it.
This power, it's like Father's replenishment tank, but it's so much more pure.
It's just ki. You know? Ki!
Leo guided them into the subterranean levels of the lunar lab, making sure to recover and heal the injured creations Parasite had fought. Superboy was amazed by the massive size of the facility. Kakarot kept looking around for the kitchen. Luckily, he wasn't disappointed when they were led into the massive mess hall. Portals brought in food shipments from Earth, while gigantic plants grew unhampered by normal gravity. Kakarot's mouth watered as he could barely contain himself before being given a nod of approval by Leo to go crazy and eat to his heart's content. Superboy joined in, but much more politely, and made sure to use the eating utensils present.
I've known you for years, Leo, but I had no idea you were such a good cook! I thought coming to visit would be all boring science stuff.
I pride myself on having very cool science stuff.
Oh yeah? Like what?
Leo Quintum began to give the Saiyans a tour of his lunar lab, but in the middle of trying to answer Superboy's many inquiries about the nature and function of the equipment, Kakarot fell behind as they rounded the corner where the teleporters were kept. When one of them activated, and Wonder Woman stepped out of the booth.
Hola, I have come to assist in your hour of need, Dr. Quintum.
Ah, in all the excitement, I neglected to turn off the distress beacon.
Oh, so you were able to defeat the intruders on your own, Superboy. I must say that's very impressive. I'm glad we can meet under such happy circumstances.
I didn't do it alone.
Oh, did Dr. Quintum assist?
Yo, Diana! How you doing?
The Amazon's jaw dropped as she saw her teammates. Her friend, she was so sure died fighting, was now standing right in front of her. In a flurry of emotion, Diana ran across the room and lifted Kakarot up in a massive hug.
By the gods! How? How are you here? We were sure you died fighting Rogozar.
Nope.
How did you survive?
Well, first I did this.
In a shocking burst of power, Kakarot transformed into his Super Saiyan state, the golden aura blinding the surrounding onlookers.
Then he blew up the planet. But it was okay because I teleported away. I landed on my friend Mogo. We trained together till I left to War World, where I got hurt by this plant. But then I went all over the galaxy helping people. It was super fun! I traveled through time, I met a girl, me, battled a lot of strong guys, and there was even this one shark. But then I got caught up with Kyle on his planet. He helped me figure the teleporting thing out. When I got home, Sheeves and me did a lot of training. She made this new outfit for me, and then I felt this crazy power here on the moon. So I grabbed old Goldie and I did this.
A violet crackle of lightning appeared next to Kakarot that tore a rift in space, which the martial artist used to move from one side of the room to the other, almost instantaneously.
And popped up to the moon. Pretty handy, huh? I call it Violet Rift.
The Amazon, the scientist, and the Saiyan stared blankly at Kakarot's description of the last year of his life. They weren't sure what to make of it, until Leo suggested something.
Kakarot, why don't you come with me? You've obviously been through a lot, and I just want to run some tests to make sure everything's still, where it should be.
Okay, Doc.
Oh, that sounds fascinating. Can you do some scans on me too?
The two Saiyans underwent a battery of tests. Kakarot was fine with anything that didn't involve a needle, while Superboy kept corrupting the results because he couldn't help himself from moving about and trying to tinker with the machines while inside them. Once the tests were done, however, Dr. Quintum gave them both the relief that they each checked out fine, but that Superboy would need to watch his calorie intake since his Super Saiyan form was consuming energy faster than his body could produce. Leo sent Superboy to go tell Diana the good news and to allow him to explore more of the lunar lab unsupervised. Kakarot prepared to follow, but the doctor called him back.
Kakarot, I'm not sure how to tell you this.
Tell it to me straight.
That boy's genetic makeup, it's unmistakable. And given how you interacted with him, it's clear to me you haven't realized. He's your son, Kakarot.
I could kinda tell. His ki felt like mine. Huh. I guess I'm a dad now? That's really weird, but kinda neat too.
That's not all the test showed.
Huh?
Your heart, a virus. You're dying.
And so we finally begin the biggest Dragon Ball DC saga yet.
The Doom Saga.
Hopefully, this episode's events has left you as shocked as we were when we decided to go this direction. And I'm sure you're desperate to watch the next part already. Well, here's some good news. For members of our Patreon, $10 and above, you can watch the next part 2 whole weeks early. The link will be available on our Patreon on either the day of this upload or the weekend at the very latest. Make sure to like and share this video with your friends, and I'll let Kakarot himself give you a preview of what is to come.
Hey, it's me, Kakarot! Wow, I'm really dying? And I'm a dad? This Superboy kid's really strong, but he's got some serious anger problems. I hope he didn't get that from me. Next time on Dragon Ball DC, the Doom Saga continues. Don't miss it!